Hi guys, right now compact SUVs really are the big business in the market, and these two are the big rivals in the market. The EcoSport is the original compact SUV and the Venue is the new kid in town. The Venue of course comes with a lot of connected apps. You can use your mobile phone to do a lot of stuff on this car. So are the connected apps enough to beat the king of this segment and the old dog really? We'll find that out on the show today, but before going further, let me just make a small request. Please do subscribe to our channel, hit that bell icon and turn your notifications on, because if you help us increase our influential powers on YouTube, then manufacturers like these will send their cars to me much faster and I can make many more reviews for you on this channel. Thanks for watching. So in terms of the boot size and shape, both these cars offer you roughly the same shape and size of the boot. There's a bit of a sill here, but the good point is that the boot in itself isn't very high from the ground, so you can easily load and unload all those big bazaar bags as well as those luggage pieces when you take your relatives to the airport or they're coming from someplace nice and you load the car. Now the only negative about the car compared to the Venue is that the door opens sideways and doesn't open like a traditional hatch. That's a big negative for people who go to the airport, or when you're loading this car up, there'll be some other car, you'll have to request them to back up a bit so that you can load it. Because of this sideways opening, I'll cut half a mark. From the EcoSport in the boot department, this one gets 8 and the Venue gets 8.5. Well, so in terms of the boot space, both these cars are nearly identical. It's really a matter of 1920. But that said, this one wins the comparison because it has a proper traditional hatch opening, unlike that door which opens sideways. So this one will be better in terms of practicality, in terms of loading and unloading of the boot. This will be much easier than the EcoSport. So the advantage on the boot is definitely with the Venue. Well, so where the EcoSport scores a big point on top of the Venue is in this. Just listen to the way this door shuts. Let's do that one more time. This is something that the Hyundai Venue can't do, and this solid noise gives you a sense of authority when you're on the road. It gives you a sense of confidence as well as security. What's more, you also get the best in class touchscreen system. Now this car doesn't have all those fancy connected apps, but if you don't want all those connected apps and you just want to use the system for what it is, then this one is much better than the Venue. In fact, this is the best in the business. The Sync 3 system works completely flawlessly with Android Auto or Apple CarPlay, and the menus, sub-menus, the system fonts, the brightness, everything is just very intuitive to operate and is brilliant. In fact, I would say that at this price point, this is the best touchscreen on offer, even though it might not have all those connected apps, but this is the best system on offer if you consider yourself someone who just loves using the touchscreen inside his car. In terms of overall equipment list, this car gets tire pressure monitor, automatic headlamps. It also gets the distance to empty meter and a host of other features. And in terms of comfort, both these cars are evenly matched. The seats on this car definitely seem to have better cushioning and are at par with the Venue. In terms of plastic quality, the Venue is definitely half a step above the EcoSport. In terms of the smaller switches over here, this car has a good quality and slightly ahead of the EcoSport again. In terms of seat comfort, both cars are really neck and neck. There's hardly any issues between them. Now, in terms of the overall build quality, this remember is plastic quality. Now, build quality is different. Well, it's good, but again, doesn't have that same reassuring kind of feel that the EcoSport offers. So maybe, half a point behind that car. So overall, I think it's a tie in the front seat department. Well, if you are someone who prefers the back seat experience and want to be sitting in the back seat all day long and want the chauffeur to do all the driving, then you'll definitely prefer the back seat of the EcoSport. You get better knee room over here, that's for sure. And the seats also have been raised so you can stretch your feet. The seats themselves are better than the Venue in terms of the cushioning. They're better in terms of the overall support, especially for the lower back as well as for your under thighs. And the car's windows also go all the way down, so you can easily hang around like this if you're traveling up the hills and enjoy the weather on the outside. Overall, very impressive compared to the Venue. I'll give this car's back seats a strong score of 8.5 out of 10. Well, so if you are someone who wants to be sitting in the back seat all day long and just going through his files, then Headroom over here is quite good, better than the EcoSport, but knee room really is at a premium and you'll prefer the seats on the EcoSport. In fact, space over here, the knee room over here is at par with the Hyundai i20, which is a much smaller car and a much more cheaper car. And even the Grand i10 Neos, the new Neos, offers you more space in the back. That is something that I'm not exaggerating at the moment. If you are at a Hyundai dealership, do check this out, and I'm sure that you'll agree with me that the Nios has more space in the back. Now, in terms of the winner, it's quite clear that the EcoSport is the winner of the back seat comparison today. But for people who might say that I'm biased towards Ford or biased towards that car, let me just tell you something positive. You get your own AC vents at the back, which is a big boon, and you also get a 12-volt charging point, though the floorboard here is more protruding. It's got a bigger lump than on the EcoSport, so whoever's sitting here will have to accommodate his feet. The backrest angle though is decent, and you get decent support for your under thighs as well. But overall, I'll give this car's back seat a score of only 7 out of 10, and that one gets a much stronger one. Well, so let me just quickly tell you about how good this car is to drive. If you call yourself a keen driver, if you are someone who calls himself a keen driver, then you will simply love the EcoSport. Yes, it's a better driver's car than the Hyundai Venue is. And what makes it so special? Well, first things first, the steering wheel on this car is just brilliant. It is a very direct steering wheel. It feels like an old school hydraulic steering wheel, hydraulic assisted power steering wheel that is, because it's really brimming with feedback, it's brimming with confidence, and it just feels nice and accurate and agile. The chassis also of this car is much more dynamic than the one on the Venue, and the suspension tuning also is better than that car. If you take this car out on the highway and you're doing speeds of about 90, 100, 110 kph, this car feels much more planted, a lot more reassuring than the Hyundai Venue does. And even at slow city speeds, this one tackles the badly patched up roads in a much better way, and it absorbs all those badly patched up roads much better than the Venue does. Where it also excels is in the gearbox department. No matter which engine option you choose, the gearboxes are fantastic. The throws are short, the throws are accurate, the throws are crisp, and again the advantage is with this car. And the big advantage is in the diesel department, because this one comes with a 1500cc diesel engine, which is ahead of the Venues. That one is only 1400cc. Also, it's 100 bhp, which is more powerful than that car, and it's also a lot more refined, and it is also a lot more responsive, which makes it a better car for driving in the city. And like a lot of other cars in this segment, including the Venue, which need about 2000 rpm before they get going, this one starts feeling alert, feeling lively at around 1400 or 1500 rpm, and that makes it a brilliant car for driving in the city, because you won't have to change gears all the time to get it in the right power band. From 1500 rpm all the way up to its right line of 4500 rpm, power is abundantly available and makes this car an effortless drive, no matter where you drive it, in the city or on the highway. So in essence, the whole thing comes down to this, that in the driving department, if you call yourself a keen driver, just shut your eyes and buy the Ford EcoSport, not only against the Venue, but against every other car in this segment. It definitely has the clear advantage. Well, so here I am driving the Hyundai Venue, and I have to say that in terms of the overall driving dynamics, this car is quite good, and it is quite a nice car to drive. The steering wheel on this car is really light, but it's decent in terms of accuracy. Don't think that it's not accurate. It is quite okay. It's just that when you take it up the hills, or when you compare it to the EcoSport, it doesn't have that same kind of seat of your pants kind of feel that it gives. It just lacks that ultimate communication with the driver that the EcoSport offers. So yes, it is clearly one level below the EcoSport when it comes to sheer driving dynamics. Where it does excel though is in its softly set up suspension, which really makes driving this car in the city a nice and breezy affair. If you're going over those rumble strips, over those badly patched up roads, this car feels a little more comfortable, a little more cushiony than the EcoSport. But on the highway, again, it's really a matter of what you need and what you want, because even though this car is comfortable, it just doesn't have that ultimate kind of confidence that the EcoSport offers, because this is a nice car, don't get me wrong, but the EcoSport is just that half a step ahead of it in terms of the overall driving department. Now, the gearbox on the Venue is a nice and light unit, and this is something that you'll really appreciate if you're driving in the city. The clutch also is nice and light, especially on the diesel, which we are driving today. In terms of overall agility, it's a decent car, but to be honest, these cars aren't really meant for the racetrack or going up the hills and really ripping them around those corners. They're meant to be driven in a sedate manner, so this car does do its job pretty okay in that department as well. It's a car which will not tire you out, but as I just said, for the sheer thrill of driving, no matter which engine you choose, petrol or diesel, it is the EcoSport which has the clear advantage. So in summary, it comes down to this, that if you remove the connected apps from this car, then it does look a little peaky in front of the EcoSport. The EcoSport might be old, but it's more spacious, it's more fun to drive, it's more solid, and with Ford's new alliance with Mahindra, after sales as well as servicing will also offer you better peace of mind than ever before. So what I'm essentially trying to say is that the EcoSport is the better car and wins today's comparison. If you don't agree with my verdict, do check out both the cars side by side, and I'm sure you'll agree with what I just said. It's bye for now, and thanks for watching.